courage, commitment, desire. This is the Blitz, baby! Playoffs.
I'm Travis Downey, and this is Will Parchman, and we're bringing you the Northwest Florida Daily News' Prep Football Blitz, the playoff edition, if you will. Regular season now a thing of the past. And before we look ahead to the playoff games, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, or at least touch on, the game of the week last week, Choctaw ending that five-year losing streak to Fort Walton Beach in dramatic fashion.
The most dramatic possible, just about.
I mean, you saw a Choctaw football team that was trailing throughout offense, kind of stuttering and not getting in the end zone, and then it all turned on a play, interception late in the fourth quarter, and they go on to get that win. Huge win for that program. Going into the playoffs, it always helps to win, but beating a rival like that, ending that streak was huge.
It just kind of goes to show how quick a game can turn, just like that.
Exactly.
It's a different game. So going into first week of playoffs, as Travis said, one and you're done. It's kind of the put up or shut up time the season, if you will. The first game we're going to be talking about is South Walton at Liberty County, the District 1A regional semifinals. And South Walton 8-2, second place in 1A, and Liberty County the victors of 2-1A.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to go against the grain maybe. I'm going to go with Liberty County. I think South Walton's had a fantastic season. There's no arguing that. I just think from speaking with coaches in and around that classification, Liberty's a team that's going to try to pound on South Walton. South Walton hasn't done well with that at times. I'm going to go against my gut a little bit. I'm going to go with Liberty County this week to get the win.
I'm going to oppose you a little bit there. I think I'm going to take South Walton. I think Liberty County won 2-1A in a shootout. They're beating Blountstown as well as that other third place team. I do think that 9-1 record is it's an important litmus, but at the same time not playing a whole lot of great teams. There were Liberty County. I think that drubbing that South Walton took at the hands of Walton, which, by the way, for both of these teams, the only classification team above 1A that either played. Right. I think that's going to help just kind of focus this team. They're 8-2, but I mean they're a hungry 8-2.
Sure,
I think.
Sure. I think records can be deceiving too at this time. No doubt about
Definitely.
that.
So I'm taking South Walton in that game. Next, we'll go elsewhere in 1A. We got Blountstown at Freeport. That mixed matchup the other way. We got the number one from 1A and number 2 from 2-1A.
Yeah, and this is an entirely different Blountstown team that Freeport has seen from earlier in the year. They played each other in the spring game and then again the fall kickoff classic. Speaking with Jim Anderson and a lot of those players this week, they're almost shocked at what they see when they see the Blountstown tape from recently, 2-3 weeks ago. Right. A lot more physical team, a team that's kind of figured out where to put their athletes. They got a really good athlete at quarterback now that can run the option. Could give Freeport a lot of trouble. I still like Freeport. I'm going to go with them. I just think up front and on both of those lines, they've made so much progress as the year's gone on. They have the weapons. I just think they'll win this game. I think it'll be close, but I like Freeport.
Yeah, I've seen Blountstown twice. The first time I actually covered that kickoff classic game, and Blountstown just looked all kinds of out of sorts. I mean, they just did not look ready for the season to start. So imagine my surprise going up to cover Baker Blountstown last week, and they're all of a sudden playoff bound team. But they didn't play that well against Baker either, which makes you wonder: are they peaking at the right time? Is this are they catching Freeport at a bad time? Sure. Freeport's just been rolling all season, just been hot. After that Milton loss, just can't lose. That's why I'm taking Freeport. I think that offense has just been unstoppable.
Side note, Freeport, you mentioned the Milton loss. That's the last time they've trailed in a ball game. Interested to see how they react should they find themselves down at 80 point Friday night.
Indeed. I think we're both taking Freeport in that one as well. Moving up, take a step up in classification, going to 2B. We got Walton visiting Florida High, making that long trip to Tallahassee.
Long road trip, and it's two teams that have kind of gone different ways towards the end of the season. Walton losing 3 of their last 5. Given they've played Navarre, was in that mix, as was Zucola. Florida High, they've won 4 of their last 5. Looking at the bodies of work, I tend to go Florida High. I think they've just been a little bit more consistent. Granted, their schedule hasn't been, overly tough schedule. But I like Florida High. Looking at some common opponents, they seem to have done a little bit better than Walton. I'm going to go out on a limb and pick them.
Yeah, I don't think that's too far of a limb to go out on. I think Florida High probably should win this game. I'm taking this as my upset pick of the week. I'm picking Walton in this one. Everything on paper probably says that Florida High should win this game. They're at home. They've played well at times this year. They only gave up 16 points to a very good Lincoln team.
Exactly.
I think they're big and they're fast. They've got a really good dual threat quarterback. But I think Walton's kind of, they have lost 3 of their last 5, but they won their last 2. They won that shootout. I mean, they've been kind of on a roll here lately. I think if at any point in time this team is peaking, it's right now. So I think if Walton's going to win this game, they're going to do it with the passing game. They're going to chew up a lot of time. I'm taking Walton. I think I'm going out there on a limb a little bit, but I'm going to take Walton in that one. Next we got Choctaw at Andrew Jackson. 7-3 Choctaw team, 10-0 Andrew Jackson team.
And records aren't everything. We know that, but you talk with Greg Thomas about Andrew Jackson. The first thing he's going to talk about are the athletes they have over there, and that's been a really impressive football team all season long. It's on the road, Choctaw. Last week they lose both of their quarterbacks, have to turn to Freddie Gray at running back to kind of man the Wildcat offense. I like Andrew Jackson. I just think there's too much athleticism, too much talent for Choctaw to go over there, as banged up as they are at the key positions, and come away with a win.
Yeah, I think the big stat for me, Andrew Jackson, they've outscored opponents about 360 to about 90 this year, and they aren't playing cream puffs. I mean, they've been playing some really good teams, and yet they've still distanced themselves, and they've beaten those good teams pretty handily. I mean, I think they've got a 14-point win over Ed White and a couple other really good teams. So
smoked Bishop Kenny.
Yeah, and Bishop Kenny I think is a 2-loss team this year.
They are.
So I think Choctaw's really got their work cut out for them. I don't think they're going to have the horses to match up on the road in this one. I think Andrew Jackson's going to roll.
But they beat Fort Walton Beach. And that
they did.
Over.
They did. They did. They got that one out of the way. Next, we got Fort Walton Beach at Pine Forest. Again, maybe a couple weeks ago, you'd say maybe this game would be a little bit different with Luke Barnes in the mix, but this is going to be a real tough test for Fort Walton.
Luke Barnes isn't walking in that locker room.
Right, he's not walking in that door.
I like what Fort Walton Beach is doing with those running backs. C.C. Carter especially, he's a workhorse. Unfortunately, Pine Forest is just chock full of athletes. Number 7 team in the state. I like Pine Forest, especially being at home, to get this win. Yeah,
they're so deep, they're so fast. Talking to Mike Owens, I mean, that's the first thing he mentions is that fast defense. They really swarm you, and they're really going to have to match up in the trenches and push them off the ball, because they're just going to have to rely on T.C. Carter and J.T. White to run the ball. And if they can't do that, I mean, they're having to rely on a sophomore quarterback that was a JV starter not too long ago.
We saw how that turned out when they tried to wing it against Choctaw. It didn't work well.
Yeah, they're going to need some help from Pine Forest in this one to get this one. I think we're both taking Pine Forest in that one. Then we got Pace at Niceville finally in the other 4A matchup in the area.
Number 1 team in the state. They're at home. Should they keep winning, they'll keep playing at home. They've played Pace, they've beaten Pace, but this is a little bit different Pace football team than what they saw earlier in the season. The quarterback, David Casey, in speaking with Coach Hicks, has been able to do a lot more. Before, this was about an 80-20 run-to-pass football team. Now it's a little bit more even. Casey can also tuck it and run it. So that Niceville defense, they're going to be tested. They're going to have to contain Casey, both running and throwing. But I like Niceville, given if they can just stay healthy. I like Niceville to go a long way, so I think they'll beat Pace.
Yeah, I think what Pace needs to do is go back and look at what Tallahassee Godby was able to do against Niceville earlier this year. They were able to kind of limit their offensive possessions, kind of get them at the point of attack. And it was a really close game. They were able to kind of hog the ball a little bit, and not let the ball get kind of into the midst of Roy Finch and Cody Williams.
Finch was out that game as well,
right.
So he'll be back this week. So
yeah.
That's a little different.
That definitely adds another wrench into the equation. Right. But if they can play keep away with Niceville, I think this game should be a little bit even. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Niceville just has the offensive firepower to just make this one a blowout. I think Niceville rolls, and they're on to play Pine Forest in the next round is kind of our consensus. And that'll wrap it up for this week's Blitz. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next week.